Lady Charmaine, and I am so glad to be back. It's been about a month and a week since I've done any type of show. So, as you guys can see, tonight's show is called I Survived COVID-19, What I Didn't Know. Today is a very special show because I have my husband joining me on the show, my daughter joining me on the show, and I also have my cousin Stacy joining me on the show. And then later, Dr. Jacinda Elder is going to be joining me on the show. I'm just so glad I'm able to be here to tell my testimony and tell my story. Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys know something. If you hear my voice getting hoarse, it's because it's still symptoms of the after effects of what I went through. Because as some of you may have heard on Facebook when I posted, yes, my lungs was affected. I will go into details about that and and how God brought me through. So basically, what the doctor said was going to take months, God has just done in 2 weeks because I would not have been sitting here with you all, or even have the strength to sit here, not even just this past Saturday. So God performed a bona fide miracle. So I just want to start off this show by first giving God all the praise, glory, and honor, because if it had not been for the Lord, I would not be here today. So first and foremost, He gets all the praise and all the glory. And then I want to say, of course, thank you to my husband, thank you to my family, and there was a lot of thank yous that I wanted to get to. I wanted to say thank you to my church family of Bayside, my pastor Bob Valiant and his wife, Lady Valiant. Thank you, Pastor Krista, Pastor Terrence. I want to say thank you to the men's ministry that brought food to my husband and daughter. Thank you to Monte and his wife, Erica McDaniel, who brought food to my house. The food fed my soul so well, y'all. This girl dang near cried. Okay, I was so blessed. So thank you to my friend Kendra Bass, who brought alkaline water. She even brought she brought what? Garlic and oranges and NyQuil. And to I wanted to say I don't want to call out so many names, but some people I would be remiss if I don't do it. Thank you so much, Mr. Roger. Those who bless me financially, Keisha Green. Thank you, Miss Jan Tomlinson. Wherever you got my address from, you found it. You sent me a card. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the churches that prayed for me from the Bay, Northridge Missionary Baptist Church. Thank you so much. Also, Romel's Church, Elizabeth. Thank you to Axel Gospel. Thank you to every prayer team out there that prayed. Your prayers were so needed. So I want to say thank you. And I know some people were saying, well, why you didn't call me? I'm gonna tell y'all something right now. One thing I don't do, everything for me is not for Facebook. When I am going through certain things, when I need prayer warriors, I'm not putting it on Facebook because there are some people on Facebook, they will PRAY, and then you have some that will PREY. And that's not what I need today. I need somebody who I know will pray. And I want to say thank you to those who text me prayers, those who recorded voicemail prayers, like my friend Shari Wilson. She would literally send me a voicemail prayer. She would pray for me, and I would literally just cry because there was nothing else that I can do. I want to thank you, Dr. Inisa Mathis, for always calling and checking on me. I want to thank you to Marie, who brought me. Now, y'all, I was in the hospital. I had no smell goods. I had no comb. I had no brush. My girl Marie Hutchinson, she brought me a comb, a brush. She brought me pajamas. She brought me socks. She brought me even my very own Miriam Berry's toiletries because my feet was looking busted and disgusted. So she brought me a care package to the hospital. So I want to say thank you because all those little things for me were so important because for those who just checked on me, because there was a time when I was in the hospital, I was so weak. If you text me, I might only text you 2 words because one, I couldn't talk, and then two, I was too weak to text. So don't think that I was being short. It was I was short of breath and short of energy, so I couldn't get back to you. But tonight is a very special show because my family is going to be joining me, and I wanted to do this show tonight because during this time, especially in California, like I said, if y'all hear my voice going out, y'all don't trip. It's just because of all the things that was going on. But in California, when you are hospitalized, you can't have anybody in the hospital with you. And we know that, and we've heard the devastating stories of people who died from COVID-19 that didn't have no family members there. I never thought I would be in that position to even go into the hospital or to even be in a hospital and be dropped off at a curb. And you don't know if that's even the last time you're going to see your loved ones because that is a very scary moment at that point. And I'm going to share with you a little bit of my story. And I'm going to bring my husband in, my daughter, and I'm also going to bring my cousin in so they can share their side of the story. So I know many people were surprised to find out that I had COVID-19 because I did not publicize it. And I know y'all probably say, shoot, Lady Charmaine got COVID-19 from the COVID-19 streets. She was running them streets and stuff. So that's probably how she got it. Well, no, it was not. How I ended up getting COVID-19, my oldest daughter, she was pregnant, and she went to the hospital to have her baby. And I was her partner in the hospital. We were there for 5 days. It was there at the hospital that I contracted COVID-19. She and I both came home positive from the hospital. Now, while I was there, I knew something wasn't right because I started getting a scratchy throat. And everybody should know their body when something is not right. So I started getting a scratchy throat, and I had started getting a little cough. And so I'm like, So I said, something's not right. So what I did, I called my doctor and I requested a COVID-19 test. And so it was on Saturday when I realized something wasn't right. Sunday, I texted my doctor. By Monday, the day my daughter and I was leaving the hospital, I had a migraine that was so bad and my legs was hurting and cramping so bad that I almost had to call my husband to come to the hospital to pick me up because I was like, okay, something is not right. The following day, I ended up going to get my test because the doctor told me that Monday to go, but I was in so much pain, I never even checked my email. So on Tuesday, I went to the hospital, got my COVID test done. My COVID test, I knew something was right because y'all, I've had 4 COVID tests because I'm just so anal when it comes to COVID. My husband, he has asthma, so I didn't want to bring it home to him. My daughter was pregnant, and plus, you never know how COVID is going to hit you. So I would always make sure my house was sanitized and everything so I would not get COVID-19. Of course, wearing the mask, trying to be very careful like everyone else is. I took all the vitamins. So for all those that was like, well, did you take vitamins? Did you take elderberry? So let me tell you my cocktail of vitamins that I was taking. Yes, I took the elderberry. I had zinc. I had vitamin C. I took vitamin D3. I also had vitamin B12 that I was taking as well. Plus, I had a shot of a multivitamin that I would drink every single day. So I was on a whole weight loss regimen, feeling good, making sure my immune system was very strong in the morning. I would even drink my vinegar and water in the morning just to make sure that my body was alkaline. So yes, I was on vitamins. So for those of you who are nutritionists and was telling me that you know what to do, well, let me tell you, everyone, I was doing that, and I was healthy. I'm not a smoker, any of that. So COVID-19 can hit you even though you feel like you're healthy, you work out, grow, your immune system is strong because mine was too. But you never know how COVID-19 is going to hit you. So when we came home from the hospital, little did we know we did have COVID-19. So everybody in my house got it. My husband got it, my son, my daughter, she got it, the one that even had the baby, and then my daughter, Serenity, she got it. And so most Serenity was asymptomatic. She didn't show any symptoms. And my husband, who had asthma, dude, didn't even touch him like I thought it would. So everybody basically came through like a champ. But the one that was losing weight, the one that was taking all the vitamins, the one that was walking 5 miles a day, I was the one that it hit the hardest. And who would have known that it was going to hit me that hard? And I wanted to show people about COVID-19 and the things that I didn't know. So I ended up, of course, like I said, I had COVID-19. Then COVID-19 turned into pneumonia. Didn't even know I had pneumonia. I had a cough that I just could not get rid of. And so it ended up turning into pneumonia. And so they call it COVID pneumonia because basically you had the COVID symptoms. So they ended up having a COVID team starting to call me every day. And I'm going to say I'm thankful for that. And so they was like, okay, we're going to call you tomorrow. For some reason, I would walk up and down the stairs. They gave me a pulse oximeter. So I would walk up and down the stairs, but my breath would not get better. I was still out of breath. So they kept saying, we're going to call you tomorrow. We're going to call you tomorrow. We're going to call you tomorrow. So every day they did call me, but I wasn't getting any better from the pneumonia. But then there was something that started to change. My breathing started to change, so I ended up having to use my husband's inhaler to where I thought, oh my God, if I didn't have his inhaler, I probably would end up dying. And so that's how I ended up going to get a chest x-ray for pneumonia. So I want everybody, this is to let everybody know, if you don't feel something that's right in your body, don't just shrug it off because something could definitely be wrong. Know your body, go get checked, and let the doctors tell you that everything is fine. Don't just assume everything is fine because my cough ended up turning and I ended up coughing up blood. You still have to know your own body because when I spoke to one of the COVID doctor actually told me that that was normal. Coughing up blood is normal. So I told my husband, I said, Not to defy her age, but she said, it's normal. And I said, she sounds kind of young. So I'm going to call back and see if I could talk to someone else. And I'm glad I did because they told me to go straight to the ER because that is not normal. Now, it was an actual physician that told me that that was normal. So when I get to the ER, I'm there still not knowing. I just know that I have pneumonia. I get there, and then they told me that I ended up having blood clots in both of my lungs. Of course, I'm shocked. Say what? Blood clots. And so that's why my breathing was labored. I ended up being admitted into the hospital for 2 days. But while I was there, I literally, the pain was becoming more and more excruciating. I wasn't able to walk where I had to have the nurses take me to the restroom. And on the second day, that's when a doctor came in and said, oh, we're going to release you. You're going home. But this doctor didn't check me, didn't check my breathing, didn't check anything. And I was in the worst pain and ended up sending me home like that. And they sent me home on Tylenol, codeine. That was the only way I was able to ride in the car because of the amount of pain that I was in. And to myself, I'm like, I can't believe that they literally sent me home like this. So when I got home, my poor husband, now he has to take me to the restroom. He literally had to lift me up and put me on the bed. He literally had to change my clothes for me because I couldn't do it on my own. So the next morning when I woke up, my husband takes me to the restroom, and then I ended up spitting up this big red blood clot. So I know now that that is not normal. We called that, and then they told me to go to the ER. On my way to the ER, I knew at that moment something was not right. Something was real different. And so I put on this song by Betty Griffin Joyner, and the song is called You Can Make It. And I played that song all the way to the hospital because at that moment, y'all, I'm telling you, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it because my whole body just felt different. And I'm like, Lord, I know I done been to the emergency room before. I know I done been to the hospital before. But this right here, this is a totally different type of feeling. And it don't feel right. Plus, I couldn't breathe. Get back to the hospital. I ended up getting readmitted. They told me I should have never been sent home from the hospital. So while I'm there, I knew that my body was literally deteriorating to where my breathing was getting worse and it was getting labored. And it was getting worse. So they ended up putting me in an area, they call it the overflow area, because when I went back to the hospital, they had no more rooms. The hospital was full of patients. So now I'm here on the floor where it was like eight of us, like eight or nine of us, and we was all separated by curtains. But it was there that I experienced my literal darkest hours right there on that floor. It was there where I would stop breathing and the nurses would come in and tell me to breathe. It was to the point to where I would literally hold my urine. I would only go to the restroom 3 times in 24 hours because in order for me to go to the restroom, I had to psych myself up for a whole hour because of the amount of pain that I was getting ready to be in just to go to the restroom because my whole right side ended up being inflamed. And so I was in so much pain. So I would tell the nurse, okay, I'm ready, but I was really ready to deal with the pain. I ready to go to the restroom. And so I would cough so bad that some days I would cough up like 9 clots. Some days I would cough them up. And in order for me to calm down, they would have to give me morphine and Percocet. So sorry, y'all, this keeps coming out of my ear. They would have to give me morphine and Percocet just to calm my body back down. I would sit in the same spot for hours or I ended up getting a bed sore because if I moved to the right or to the left, the pain would be so bad. And the pain was so bad one night, everybody. I'm just being totally honest. I want to share my story. The pain was so bad one night. I was delirious. And as I told my family, if there would have been a knife somewhere near me, I would have taken that knife and tried to cut out the clots myself because the clots were so excruciating that I just wanted the pain to stop, the amount of pain. And so I thought that I was just dealing with the blood clots. Well, come to find out, because I had one doctor who could care less, and when Dr. Jacinta Elder come on, she's going to be here because she was a doctor that really helped me. He wasn't going to do anything. He wasn't going to give me any new tests. He wasn't going to do anything. So I know that under him, I would have been dead if I would have stayed under him. But God ended up sending a new doctor, and I thank God for him because he is the doctor that ended up checking everything. And come to find out, I not only had COVID pneumonia, I had bacteria pneumonia. I also had an infection and I also had blood clots. So I had all those things going on at one time, and my body was so inflamed. My lungs were so inflamed. But the killer part is part of my lungs was dying. So that's why I was in the condition that I was in. And it was nobody but God that was able to pull me out of that. Because when I was sitting in that room, y'all, people say, it was a dark time, but y'all, it was dark. When I say dark, I'm not just talking about physically dark because we didn't have any windows in there. I'm talking about it was dark too. I had to have conversations with the Lord, and I told the Lord, I said, Lord, I love my mama, and I miss her, but I'm not ready to see her right now. So, Lord, if you could just keep me right here. And I felt myself literally knocking at death's door. Because as the nurse would come in, she'd be like, Charmaine, breathe, breathe. Because I didn't know I wasn't breathing. So I would slip in and out. And I said, Lord, I was sitting there and I would cry because I'm like, Lord, I would hate for my family to have to get a call to say something happened to me or that I passed away. Because people don't realize when you're in the hospital by yourself, you don't have an advocate for you. You don't have nobody to speak for you. You have to speak for yourself no matter how sick you are. So I literally couldn't just rest in the sickness. I had to stay alert. I had to ear hustle really hard to hear what the nurses were saying about my condition because they was whispering as low as they could. And I was like, Lord, amplify my ears so I can hear what they're saying. And that's how I found out my condition was worse than what it really was. I had to make sure they almost gave me someone else's medication. Literally, they would send because I was hooked up to two IVs. And so they would literally send medication, but they would send the wrong doses. So I had to make sure I listened to everything that was going on. I couldn't just be like, okay, and just depend on the nurses. And that is one of the hardest things to do when you don't have anybody there in the hospital to be able to help you because I didn't have anybody to speak for me. And so my husband, who I'm getting ready to bring on, because I want him to be able to share his story. Hey, babe.
Hey, hey.
And so I want you to be able to share your story because I know I was sharing my story and, just being in the hospital and being in that dark time. And thank God that God sent Dr. Tang. But I wanted people to find out what is it like for a spouse to have to drop their spouse off at the hospital? Because when you drive up to the emergency room, there's literally a sign that says no visitors. What was that
You
like
know,
for you?
that I wasn't expecting it to be like that. I mean, literally you got out the van and they were carting you off, and I thought at some point they would give me an update or I might be able to talk to somebody, but literally I was in the parking lot for 5 hours waiting for a word. And if it wasn't for your text, I wouldn't know what was going on with you inside. And that's the hardest thing, just waiting and not knowing. And at the same time, I didn't want a nurse or a doctor looking for me because it may have been bad news. But I just want to know that, hey, they're checking on you. What's the progress, whether they're going to admit you or not. Everything was kind of up in the air. And literally, I'm just in my car, just waiting, not wanting to leave because I didn't know at any time I can get an update and miss it. I didn't want to miss it. But thank God that you had your phone. You were able to, with whatever strength you're able to muster up, just let me know what was going on, what they were doing. But yeah, the communication, not knowing anything and dropping off the person you love and the condition that you were in, really was just it was just traumatic for me as well. Just kind of waiting to know what was happening. Um, but it was good news that when they did admit you, at least I knew that you were in good care, at least in the hospital, because at home you weren't doing well at all. So the hospital is where at that time you needed to be.
Yeah. So with me being there for the whole 7 days, and then as the doctor began to fill you in on my condition, because I wasn't there when he was calling you on the phone or when you were calling him on the phone. What was going through your mind?
Well, Dr. Tang did a great job of just being honest and letting me know the
Hmm.
seriousness of the situation. And he had a plan of how he was going to deal with it. And he shared that plan with me that he was going to be aggressive because you had so many things going on all at once. And it was to the point where you were in that condition for several days. he didn't feel comfortable waiting and trying out stuff kind of incrementally. He wanted to go at it aggressively and hit every area aggressive because your lungs were literally dying, and they needed to break that clot and do it quickly. He said you were in very serious condition. And those words to me from a doctor meant very, very serious condition. I mean, he really wanted to do this. And I was just thankful that he had the information and he had a plan, and he didn't make any promises, which I, doctors, they're not going to make promises because they're not God, right? They treat, but God heals. But that allowed me to know how to pray. It allowed me to know how to communicate with Serenity, how to communicate with Stacy. Just, hey, this is what's going on. It is serious. But the fact that he had a plan and that he was going to do everything he can. And I told him, I said, listen, this is my wife. I love her. She has a family. She has people that love her. We want her back home. Whatever you need to do, if you need to be aggressive, be aggressive. I'd rather you do that than just kind of let her continue to go down, because your health was spiraling down. It wasn't getting better in the hospital. And that was concerning me. And but again, I thank God that God really used him to be aggressive to deal with the situation. But at nighttime was the worst time for me, because it was hard to sleep and rest. I was up literally at 2 a.m. and I would stay up to 6 a.m. because I didn't want to miss a call. But at the same time, I was dreading a call at 2 a.m. saying we did all we could. And so that I couldn't even utter those words or even think about, because you're not prepared for that separation. I wasn't prepared to lose you. I didn't even want to think about that, but I had to just keep my mind on other things. And so that was a traumatic time for me. And I thank God for my church, the men's ministry, people that came. And even I didn't even know what I needed, right? But they were calling, saying, hey, we're going to send you some food. We're going to get a meal train going to your house. So that's one less thing to worry about, because Josiah was still in school. Serenity was still in school. Thank God I took a month off work just to be available. And I was able to be here, but just being here and waiting for the updates was hard. And so for a spouse that, really didn't have a plan and just kind of waiting to hear, it was a very trying time. But every text, every communication I got from you made my day, because I knew you were able to communicate, and at least you were still letting me know what was going on. So yeah, that was a tough time.
Yeah, and I do thank God for Dr. Tang. Although I was hooked up to so many medications, it was ridiculous. I had 2 IVs going, I had blood thinners I was going, and God is good, because the day that I was going home, the Lord knew, because I had no more veins. They were sending in specialists trying to put IVs in because everything was blowing. And my friend Marie, she had texted me, and I couldn't even text her back because my hands literally was in so much pain. I couldn't use no thumbs, no fingers. And I said, Lord, I can't. And that's why I understand now when people pass away, and you know how you read in the obituary and they'll say they're in no more pain, no more
Mm,
suffering. The type of pain that I was in, I could not imagine being in that pain for years. So for those who have lived in that type of pain from something, I got to take my hat off to you, because that amount of pain that I was in. Because I remember when they would ask me, Charmaine, what is your pain? Is it from, from 1 to 10? But that night when I just knew God was taking me out, the pain was a 30. I can even describe the amount of pain that I was in. And so I'm like, Lord, and let me tell you something. I'm a person that has vision, right? I could see what God is calling me to do, but when I was in there, it was so dark. I was like, Lord, are you taking me home? Because I couldn't see what God had for me. I was like, Lord, you calling me home, because I don't see anything. And so I'm like, Lord, I said, I can't wait for my 50th birthday, which is in August. You mean to tell me I'm gonna die at 49? That's
mm.
literally how I feel. I'm gonna die at 49. I'm not gonna see 50. That's why I'm gonna celebrate my 50th birthday like nobody's business. And I want to bring my daughter Serenity in. Because, hey, baby. I want to bring my daughter
Hey,
Serenity in. So for all of you that are tuning in, I'm telling my story about how I survived COVID-19. And no, I did not get COVID-19 from these COVID-19 streets. I got COVID-19 when I went with my daughter to have her baby. So I actually literally got it while I was in the hospital. And so I have my husband. He just shared his story, my daughter Serenity, because I wanted people to hear from a child's point of view when their parent is in the hospital and you can't see them, and only thing you can do is text them. And there was a time I didn't even feel like texting because I just did not feel good. So, Serenity, what was it like for you knowing that your mom was in the hospital?
I couldn't even think. Like honestly, I really couldn't like, especially it's different because what the state of the world is in at this time and a pandemic and COVID, and I know a lot of people survive from it, but most of what you hear on the news is people dying, like, people in the hospital. And, it's most of the cases that are like when they go to the hospital and then they die of complications in the hospital. So when it became that severe and when you have to go to the hospital, my mind just went to, oh my gosh, like this is like, she could either like, make it out or not. So obviously I'm praying to God that you'll be able to make it, but I couldn't help but think in the back of my mind, what if? And the what if was like having me go down the road. Like some even because I'm in school right now, for those of you who don't know, I'm a college student right now. And it was hard to even focus in class. Like I would have, there was a time when dad was telling me about everything, like all the updates that the doctor was giving. And then I had class the same day, like a few hours later. And it's just, I couldn't think of like, any math equation or like any assignment that I had to do when my mom was literally in the hospital fighting for her life. So I'm like, it was, and sometimes which I have to work on with myself, I think of the worst case scenario. And I'm like, I'm trying to like mentally prepare myself for it because I don't like surprises. I don't like to be like, oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting that at all. Like I don't want that. And it was just so it was really hard. Like I had to do a lot of prayer. I reached out to my friends, and my friends even put you in prayer groups in their churches, and their families are praying for you. So it just had to. I had no other choice but to turn to God because we can't see you. We can't like we can't lay hands on you. It was just a matter of just praying, and that's it was how do I explain it? Because honestly, it was just a lot of emotions at that time, and it's kind of hard to just like not being able to just be there with you, knowing what you're going through, and knowing like even like your whole mental state, like how you were talking about, it was so dark in a dark time. And it's like you can't do anything, as like as a daughter, I can't be there with you. I can't hold your hand and be like, Mom, it's gonna be okay. Like you're just there and you can just hope that the doctors will see what's going on. And and one thing that wasn't right was I didn't like how sometimes I know you have to like rely on doctors and stuff, but it kind of leaves you in questioning if the doctors are also in questioning, like, oh well, we're going to see what's going on and blah blah. I'm like, ah, I want you to know exactly what's going on because this is my mom. And it's like it was really stressful, and it was hard to focus. But I just continue to thank God that you were one of the people that were able to make it out because so many people lost their lives to this. And it was just a matter of just relying on God, really. Yeah, that's really all you could do during this time.
Yes.
And you
And
really feel your hopelessness. You're
Mhm.
right. You really feel the hopelessness within yourself to do anything. It is God, it's all God, and you realize that, Lord, this is in your hands. And it's at a point where we can pray, we can sit up, but Lord, you're going to have to show up because that was the only way to heal this situation, to get out the situation. So, it's just by the grace of God, unmerited favor, the grace of God that you're here and that He was able to touch your body the way He did.
yeah, Dr. Jacinda Elder, she's going to be calling in. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to. Okay, can everybody hear me okay? Am I going in and out?
No,
No,
you're
you
good.
sound good.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear me. Okay, good. And then I'm gonna bring in my cousin Stacy, who is definitely like my sister, and she my sister cousin. And so, can you hear me, Stacy?
Yes, can you hear me? Hey,
Okay,
family.
yeah.
Hey.
Hey,
So this is my cousin Stacy, and She lives in the Bay Area, so of course, she couldn't come up. Nobody can come to the hospital. But my husband was keeping her abreast on what was going on. So, Stacy, I just wanted to know what your thoughts are because I want to hear from my husband, from my daughter, and how many of us got loved ones that love us and they're very close to us. They're like our sisters and our brothers, although they may be our cousins, and they can't even con come and see you. So, and
Yeah.
my brother lives with my cousin Stacy, so we got a whole house going on over there. So, and so, but I just wanted to hear from you because it had gotten to the point where I had to let my husband know to tell people don't call me because I couldn't talk. So, one thing I learned, everybody, from having COVID-19, I learned this. I learned not to waste my breath because when you when you can't talk, it took me forever to make a sentence. I would have to say a word, take a bunch of deep breaths, and then say another word. Now, when my voice goes out, y'all don't trip because it's just a residual. It got to the point to where I had to choose my words wisely and choose if I was to talk, who I would talk to, because it took so much breath and air just to talk. And you don't realize we take breathing and talking for granted. Well, okay, I did. Because I just thought it was just, natural. You just have natural air. You could just talk. I took all that for granted. Although I would say, Lord, thank you for my breath. Thank you for, but not realizing when you can't breathe and your breathing is so short and you're literally on your last breath because I would stop breathing. Like I said, and the nurses would have to come in and tell me to breathe. I'm just so thankful. But I have my cousin Stacy here because I want her to be able to share her story of
Okay.
whenever she was getting news about me, what was going through her mind.
So, I was one of those people, when the pandemic first hit, I was skeptical, right? I was like, oh, Black people can't get it. Yeah, I was one of those kind. And then, we started slowly seeing that, more cases coming out, more ethnicities, and it was becoming more certain. And then more people around me was getting it, friends of friends, friends of family. And then it hit home, literally. So when I first got the news that you had COVID, it was like, you're healthy, you know, um, you're going to be okay. The whole house got it. Everyone, we praying for you. Everything is going to be okay. It really didn't get serious and really start affecting our household here until you had to go to the emergency. And it was the blood clots. Even with the pneumonia, it was like, okay, antibiotics, that's the normal procedure. You're out of COVID, no more COVID, antibiotics, she'll be fine. I even spoke to you, even that time. But once you said the blood clots in the lungs, I was like, oh Lord, both lungs. And poor Joe, we was asking him, throwing him so many questions. Did they try this? Did they try this? Why did she get blood clot? She doesn't have any underlying conditions. What is she taking? What vitamins? All these vitamins that she takes. What did it trigger something with the antibiotics? Like, all these different things. We were asking him, and he took it like a champ, and relayed those questions to the doctor and really calmed us down here, right? He wasn't like, oh, I don't know. He gave thorough answers to make us feel like we knew exactly what was going on with you. And I appreciated that, from him. But it shook my whole house. As you know, like you said, your brother is here. You're very close to your brother. Me and you are very close. My mom, your aunt, like it shook us off. So, when we found out that you had the blood clots, stop everything, family prayer right now.
Hmm. Hmm.
And everyone prayed together as a family. That same night, we had a church meeting. I need prayer. Call out her name, you know. Um, my son's church, call out her name. So that's when it became very serious that, no, we need the prayer warriors.
Hmm. Hmm. And that's why I just thank God for prayer warriors who were praying because it was a time where it got so dark because they were going to be sending me to ICU. And ICU, there's a ventilator and all of that. So I'm like, Lord, but I want to say thank you. because there were some wonderful people. I mean, the moms would check on me. Oh, train station moms, those are my kids from another mother. But I want to tell you guys, Facebook is a wonderful and powerful tool, and I love it. I'll tell you why I love it this way. Because Rochelle Lee, I'm not sure if you're watching, Rochelle Lee had posted a song by Brian Courtney Wilson, who's one of my favorite artists. And when my mother passed away, I bought an album from him, and it literally took me through her whole passing. It just blessed me. And the song was called Still by Brian Courtney Wilson. So she posted on Facebook because while I'll be in my bed sometimes I would just kind of scroll and that's what you kind of do. Not to say to pass the time, but try to get your mind off stuff. So when she posted the song, I played the song, but it was at that moment something sparked in me because on a Monday I did a post and I said, when the natural physician is limited, that's when the great physician steps in. Because at that moment, it was like, we just gonna throw everything at her, including the kitchen sink, to see what works because there's so much that's going on with her. We got to try to hit everything at one time. So because I knew I was declining and I was declining real fast. So not sure if I'm gonna make it to another day. But in the song, in the song he says, and the mountain has to move, the mountain must obey the words that I speak and bow down to my faith. Something in those lyrics hit me. I remember being in that bed and I looked down at my lungs as if they were mountains. And I just looked down at them and I spoke them. I said, oh, this mountain has to move. This mountain must obey the words that I speak and bow down to my faith. And do you know, that night, I just kept speaking it, listening to the word, praying, talking to the Lord. I felt something literally in the midnight hour turn around in my body. The next morning, I ended up going to worship with the Lord for 2 hours straight. We just had a Holy Ghost hold down in that room, in that room. And then the next night, going into that night from 12 midnight to 7 o'clock in the morning, I could not sleep. I was in worship for 7 hours. 7 hours. And God literally started turning around. I never forget, my doctor came in the room and he was like, everything is looking good because, they was taking so much blood throughout the day. I was just a mess. And so he came in, he was so excited. Everything started looking good, turning around. He said, this is Wednesday. He said, you may be able to go home on Friday. But had no idea that God was coming in there and God, the great physician, started doing the work on my body and I felt it. And that's when I ended up going home on that Friday. But the only person I can give the praise to was God and God all by himself. And I think God was saying, um, hopefully Dr. Elder be able to log in because Dr. Elder did something that was so special for me. Um, she came onto my show 2 weeks prior to me getting COVID. I had did in my Black Sisters Making Friends group, I did something what we call Ask the Doctor. So she came on talking about COVID-19 where you can ask her any question, not knowing that I would end up getting COVID-19. So one day I called her while I was in the hospital with a little breath that I had. And I'll never forget, she said, you want me to talk to your doctor? And I said, sure. So she spoke to the doctor. The other doctor I had, he didn't want to do any more CT scans, any of that. She sent out all this stuff that my doctor is supposed to do. Well, we gave that information to Dr. Tang. He was humble enough to listen to what she typed out and did everything that she recommended. She wanted a new CT scan and she wanted an ultrasound of my leg. He ended up doing all that. But let me tell you, it was because of his humbleness and God used him. It was there that he found everything that was going on. It was more than just blood clots that I had. That's where they found the bacteria pneumonia. That is where they found the infection. And so I had inflammation. My inflammation had literally doubled from the first CT scan. So I just want to thank God for Dr. Elder. Hopefully she's able to log in. I want to thank God for her and thank God for humble doctors because he didn't have to, because you have a lot of doctors that have a lot of ego. He didn't have to listen to what another physician said. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm not going to. But all of that together ended up saving my life. And so that is why I am so thankful for what God has done in my life and who he brought into my life and for the power of prayer. And I just want to tell everybody. And there was a few things that I want. Now, this is what I wanted to share with people. This is what I didn't know about COVID-19. And so if you know anybody, did you know that COVID-19, of course, you might have found out you get pneumonia, but I found out COVID-19 thickens your blood and causes you to have blood clots. And a lot of people don't know that. So that's why a lot of people pass away in their sleep, um, because they don't even know they even have blood clots. All I thought I had was pneumonia, and that is what was affecting my breathing. But because I had COVID, which thickened my blood, I had blood clots. And it was affecting my breathing. And that's when a lot of people pass away at home. So if you get COVID-19, some people just have the viral COVID-19. They might take some vitamins, eat right, and you're fine. But go to the doctor. And I'm telling you, tell the doctor everything. If it hurts, say ouch when you go. Because when you see that doctor, you got that one time to tell that doctor everything and for that doctor to check everything. Know your family history. It is very important. While I was in there, the doctor was asking me questions. And because my mother had a pulmonary embolism, I was able to tell him my mother had a pulmonary embolism. So that is why he checked for pulmonary embolisms because of family history. If I would not have told him that, he probably would not have checked because I had already had pneumonia. But because my mother had it, that is why he checked for it. And lo and behold, I had blood clots in both lungs. So if you don't talk to your parents about health, talk to them about their health because as we know, that history can pass on to you in your bloodline and in your DNA. So it is very important. And I know knowing that saved my life. So know your family history. So, and because the right side of my chest was hurting, I was able to tell them, well, it hurts over here. Well, that is where I had the biggest blood clot. So they were able to go and check. So don't just go to the hospital and be like, oh, or think, oh, that little thing is nothing because that little thing can be something. Because those are signs of something that can be worse. And little did I know that I'm sitting up there dying. If I would have just waited, because you have a lot of people who wait too long. And let me tell you something. If you have those issues, COVID is not playing. It is literally Russian roulette with your life. And you only got one life. Being in that hospital room, I'm gonna tell you something. One thing I don't play with is time. I only got 24 hours of it, and don't know no, and nobody have time to play with that. But for God to give me a second chance, I do not take that lightly, and I literally feel like I have a second chance. Whatever God has called you to do, you better do it because you only have one life. And when you're sitting up in a hospital room and you know you almost out of here and you only have one life, don't play with it. Don't take it for granted because you only have one. I know people say cats have 9 lives. You only have one life to live. So you better live it and you better live it to the fullest. And you want to make sure that when God calls you home, you hear those words, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Don't get caught not doing what God has called you to do. You do not have time to play because it doesn't matter how old you are. I'm only 49. To some people, I might be considered old. Some people are considered young. But people of all ages are dying. And it's literally a jackpot. Like I said, out of my whole family that got it, I was the one that hit the jackpot, ended up going into the hospital. I'm just, no pun intended. I'm just saying. So you don't know how it's going to affect you. So wear your mask, please. Wear your mask. COVID is real. So for those who are running around here thinking that it's not real, oh, it is real and it will take you out. And if it does not kill you, they have something what they call long haulers when it comes to COVID, which means people who still feel the effects of COVID long after. One of the things I did not know about COVID that it affects you neurologically. I was smelling chemicals. You know how if you go to a car auto body shop, a car shop, and you smell chemicals? I was smelling chemicals. I was in the hospital asking the nurses, y'all got chemicals? Is somebody smoking in here? And they were like, no, but I had no idea that it had affected me neurologically. So then by the time I got home, I was still smelling the same chemicals. So when the COVID doctors called me, the COVID nurse, she called me. I told her what was going on. She said, oh, that's an effect of COVID. So all day I'm smelling car chemicals all day, and then it would turn as if I was in a room full of smoke. So it would start affecting my throat, and then it affects your vision. When I left the hospital, I knew my vision was affected. I didn't even know that. COVID affects so many things, so you don't know how it's going to affect you. Because most of us here, you lose your sense of taste, you lose your sense of smell. I did for 2 days, but no one told me about the neurological effects. I didn't know about COVID thickens your blood and cause blood clots. I didn't know COVID affects your vision. So if we're running around here being reckless, you don't know how COVID is going to affect you. People are literally dying every day, and it is attacking your lungs. And once your lungs, if those little vessels in your lungs start dying off, that is going to be the end of you. So we don't want to play with this thing. Don't nobody have time to play with it because it is very serious. Take it from me. And like I said, I got it from a hospital, and COVID is airborne. My daughter and I, we were in the room together. The nurses all had masks on. So just know COVID is airborne. So you think it's not? I, I found out. She and I. She was in the hospital bed the whole time and got it. So be careful because it is literally nothing to play with. Oh, Dr. Elder couldn't come in. Oh, okay. Because I wanted Dr. Elder to come in and share her story, and share her story. So I wanted everybody to be able to hear Dr. Elder, or maybe I might try to have her call in to be able to hear Dr. Elder. And I want to say thank you to her because she was definitely a huge help for me, just educationally. And I just thank God for her. And so I want to keep the chunk. I don't want to belabor it, the show, but I want to make sure that everybody that you take your health very seriously. This is another thing that I wanted to share with people because this would happen to me, and I want to thank everybody that inboxed me. I appreciate you so much. I really do. But this is something that I've learned just about people, how we can be very selfish. Because when I got home from the hospital, a lot of people didn't know the condition that I was in. So people were calling my phone. And I learned that when people come home from the hospital, after you've been in the hospital, you've been poked, you've been prodded. You don't get any sleep in the hospital because they come in like every couple of hours and they wake you up. So you can't wait to get home just to get rest. If you know anybody that's been in a hospital, if they've been in a serious condition, don't call them when they get home. Because I'm going to guarantee they don't feel like talking. Only thing they want to do is get some sleep and get some rest. And don't continue to call them every day because you want to talk to them. Let them get rest, and then when they feel better, they'll call you. I wanted to address that because that's something that was happening to me, and I had to put a post on Facebook to let people know. I wasn't slighting anyone. I just didn't have enough air to talk because my lungs were still trying to heal. And somebody has sent me an inbox asking me to give them a call because they wanted to share some COVID remedies with me. And I'm like, did they just see the post that I just put on Facebook that I can't talk? So then they inboxed me again because they were offended because I did not call them. So then I was very polite and I said to them, can you just email the information to me? So then they get offended because they said it's too much information and they busy and they work. And I'm just like, do they understand that I just got out of the hospital? So I just want to just talk to my people whoever's watching. Please get out of your selfishness. You may have information to share, but that person may not even feel like hearing the information. They may not even be up to even receiving the information or just feel like hearing it because you don't know what condition they're in. And so I told the person, well, you offended me because if you're not even paying attention to the post, to think that I feel well enough to give you a call when I just even ask people not to even call me. So I just want to just talk to people because we really do have to get out of our selfishness. And all you have to do is say, hey, sis, I have some information for you. Whenever you're ready, I would love to give it to you. Don't get upset if the person don't call you, especially the person who just got out of the hospital, because they may not even feel like talking. They don't even know the kind of state that they're in. So I just wanted to make sure that people really understood that. And I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you all for all of your comments. I really do appreciate it. Hi, Miss Betty. Hi, Miss Phyllis. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. And for those of you who want to get the vaccine, the vaccines are available. You know, they are available for those. If you, for those who don't, you still need more information, do your research, do your homework. You know, I'm not telling people, I'm not a physician, but do your research, do your homework on the vaccine, which one you want to take, if it's going to be Johnson& Johnson, Pfizer, or Moderna. So just do your research, everyone. And that's all I could say. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, sorry. And like I said, I thank you. Because, see, the thing is, you know, people, when they say they're going to pray, y'all, sometimes the only prayer you might get from somebody is when they say, I'm going to pray for you. They went home, they forgot. Sometimes you have to pray for people immediately because you have no idea what they're going through. And every prayer that I got, so people don't think that I didn't see your prayers because I did. If you sent me a prayer, I love y'all, and I thank everybody that did, that took out the time, everybody that came and brought me food, everybody that came, like I said, and brought me water. I thank God for those who sent me cash apps, those who sent me checks in the mail. God bless you. Because God is so good. And I want to give a shout out to my general manager, Marvell. Thank you so much, Marvell, for calling me. Thank you so much for checking on me. I know you were concerned. I know you were concerned. I know as I was going downhill, I know you thought, oh, I was almost out of here. He said, you 1 minute you laughing at the radio station, next minute you can't talk. so, so it literally the decline was really fast, everybody. So I will be going back to work, everybody, on March 15th. So you guys make sure y'all tune into the Lady Charmaine Live show. Thank you to all of my sponsors. I want to say thank you to Angela Barrymore. I want to say thank you to Princess Mitchell. I want to say thank you to Mixed Institute of Barber and Cosmetology. I want to say thank you to Intercept Security. I want to say thank you to all of those who sponsor the Lady Charmaine Life show. I love y'all and I appreciate you. To all my Black Sisters Making Friends, all the women that are in that group, all 8,000 if you win. Thank you guys so much. I love y'all. I appreciate you. For every woman that do a post in the group, you guys have no idea that y'all posts kept me going while I was in the hospital. Just to be able to read and just to be inspired by my sisters. Thank y'all so much. And thank you guys to everyone that watched the show tonight. Thank you to my husband Joe. Thank you to my daughter Serenity and my cousin Stacy. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Stacy, thank you so much for ordering me Chipotle when I was starving. You know, I love you, girl. I
Yes.
appreciate. Thank you for coming up to see me on Sunday. I appreciate you. And so, like I said, I appreciate everybody, and I look forward to, like I said, seeing everybody. Black to make friends. Y'all, we gonna have some stuff coming up. Social distancing, and we gonna wear our masks as things loosen up. Okay, or we just want to make
And she
sure
gonna
that we
take
are
it
safe.
easy. She's not gonna jump right back in. She
Okay,
Oh,
gonna
thank you,
take it
she's
easy.
already took the lead.
See, me and Joe is here. See, I already know.
She got dates on the calendar. She's booked. She's gone
Hey,
now. So
hey, everybody. Uh,
in
Lady,
Jesus' name.
Lady Charmaine is gonna take it easy.
But you
Okay.
know what? I do. I mean, I do have. Okay, y'all do have interviews on the books. You know, thank y'all to my Lifetime people. I
See.
do have an interview coming up with Lifetime. I'm a little bit back to work. I'm putting stuff on the calendar. I just, I got to get back to work.
I
I've been
know.
off, y'all. Look, y'all. I had no idea. I had been working for 5 weeks. I hadn't driven my car in 4 weeks. I had been in such a fog. So I'm so glad that I'm back now.
Okay.
So praise God. I got more interviews coming. And next week I'm going to be going to talk about women, AIDS, and HIV/AIDS. So, so
Hey
yeah, praise
Stacy,
God.
we already knew. We already
Yep.
knew.
Yep.
In Jesus' name,
In Jesus' name.
she's redeeming the time.
Praise,
Yes.
praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. So y'all have no idea. God is good. So yes, I'm redeeming the time. Thank God, all the interview requests that I'm literally filtering through right now to be able to put on the books. But I'm thankful that people think about me, and I'm thankful for that. So that's all I can say. I'm thankful for all the networks that I work with, and they like working with me. So I'm thankful. So God is good, and I'm back, y'all.
Praise God. I'm
Anyway.
so, so glad.
Well, look,
Amen.
I'm
Amen.
wrapping this show for a minute, right? For a minute,
Amen.
right? But God is good, and like I said, thank you everybody. Thank you everybody for your prayers, and I just want y'all to know that God is a supernatural healer, and God will do exactly what He said He will do. He is a healer. Just trust Him. He is a miraculous God, and that's all I can say. And if you
Mhm.
do not know Jesus and the pardon of your sins, get to know Him, because when you're in the hospital by yourself, that's all I had was Jesus. I didn't have nobody there with me. I didn't have nobody where I can turn to a chair and look and talk to them.
Amen.
It was me and Jesus by ourselves. So if you do not know Him, you better get to know Him. Because when they say the footprints in the sand, it was at that moment He was carrying me.
Yes.
Because at that moment, that's all it was. My husband
Mhm.
wasn't there. I couldn't call on my husband, couldn't call on my daughter, couldn't call on Stacy. Only person I can call on was Jesus. And you're gonna hear me proclaim his name because he's worthy. And if you don't believe in Jesus, that's on you. But I'm gonna testify of who he is all day.
Amen.
And if it had not
Preach.
been for the Lord who was on my side, I would not be here today. So yeah, you're gonna hear me praise his name because he gets all the praise, all the glory, all the honor, and that's it. Nobody else but him. And thank God for the prayers that help to move the hand of God. But I know I'm blessed and highly favored. So if I don't know nothing, I know that, y'all. So, so on that note, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and I appreciate everybody for watching. And please like, share, comment. Please follow the Lady Charmaine page, and please join my Black Sisters Making Friends page. Just make sure you read the rules. And I look forward to seeing everybody. And make sure y'all tune in to 97.5 KDEE on Monday, March 15th from 4 to 6 for the Lady Charmaine live show. Love y'all and appreciate y'all. And always remember that Jesus Christ is the Lord and he loves you. Bye bye.